Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Once again, I am alone here. Hermes, the lucky one, he is right now in Kenya, Masai Mara.
Lincoln.
So I'm going to be handling the webinar today, and we have a wonderful guest from Sri Lanka, and for a change, by profession, he is a tea taster, and he started with wildlife photography in 2019, and with photography, I think slightly earlier than that. And most of the time when people start with wildlife photography, something with nature, then it's quite naturally they fall in love with the field, love with nature. And a tea taster means, yeah, he will be exposed to a lot of beautiful places. So, this is Pamalka going to join us. He's from Sri Lanka. Let's hear his story from his side. Let me welcome Pamalka. Hi.
Hi, Nisha. How are you? And thank you. Hi, everyone. And thank you very much for joining me onto your webinar. And really honored to take part in this series. So,
Thank you.
so yeah, can I start the slideshow
Yes.
from the?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Uh, I hope you can see my screen. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So let me begin. And first of all, let me give you a little bit of who I am. And my name is Pamalka. So I go by my Instagram profile, Wildlife Wide Open. And I'm born in Sri Lanka, and currently I live in Sri Lanka as well. But before that, I lived in Kenya for almost 7 years, and I work as a tea tester. So it's a little bit of a fun job, I would say. Like I work for a company called Empire Teas, and so I taste tea and I sell tea. So I think that's enough about my work. So let's get back to the business. So I started wildlife photography in 2019. Basically, I started taking photographs like with a DSLR back in 2018. I got a DSLR. I bought a DSLR in 2018, and I started with a 50 mil. So I was basically shooting landscapes and then a little bit of people. But that was like 50 mil was never going to be enough for wildlife. But anyway, I went on one of the safaris with my camera, and then actually felt in love. I never took these I wasn't able to take any of the like lions or leopards or anything, but I just took some landscape shots. But I fell in love with that. Later on I invested a little bit on gear, like some lenses, like every beginner's favorite 70 to 300. And their own, I fell in love with the art, like like the fact that you'll be able to see the things that are so far away, and then like when you go to your computer screen and view them, and when they look so big, and like that is how I fell in love with the photography in the beginning. So I just to be like put the elephant out of the room. I shoot Nikon, but definitely brand is irrelevant because these
Relevant.
days, yeah, these days, like the technology is so good that you cannot make a bad photo with any other camera. So just wanted to get that out of the way. And telling me like my favorite park, obviously, as I lived in Kenya, it's Masai Mara National Reserve. Like no doubt, like I think like everybody's favorite park is going to be that. I love the wildlife, and especially the predators that are present in Masai Mara, and also this huge this backdrops of skies, like these heavy cloudy skies and these beautiful colors that Masai Mara presents. That's just beyond beautiful, and that's one thing that I fell in love about Masai Mara. And also Amboseli, one of my favorite places ever, because that's also not only the animals, not only the biodiversity that Amboseli has, but also especially the if you have ever been to Amboseli National Park, and if you have seen Mount Kilimanjaro covered in the ice in the background, you will know what I'm referring to.
I know. Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. So those are the favorite places, and I mean, like I like every park, and wherever there is wildlife, I love it. But these two parks have a special place in my heart. And obviously, if you have scrolled through my Instagram, you will definitely know that I am a big fan of male lions, photographing male lions. So obviously, my like favorite subject to photograph is male lions. So
Right.
those are the things that about me, and so let's go to the fun part. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So basically, in this webinar, like I just want to, share my experience, the little bit of a thought process, and a little bit of the sort of the way how I think and how I create my images, the way I do it. So there is no hard and fast rule that this is correct or this is wrong, this is right or this is wrong. But these are I just wanted to share the way I would take photographs and the sort of compositional techniques that I'm be using.
Yeah.
So I'll be basically focusing on these four aspects. First one is like identifying the subject, the environment, and the habitat. And the second one, this is where I just want to spend a little bit more time, the techniques that I use to create the images. And then the third one, I actually want to create a little bit of a debate here, the post processing dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one, importance of knowing your gear.
Yeah.
So that is those are the main points I'll be talking you through. And first one, so identifying the subject and the habitat. This is very important because, it's not like when you are going to on a safari. It's not like you are going to a zoo that you will be seeing the animals everywhere. Like if you go to a zoo, then you know where the lion cages, and then you will see where the lion cages, where the lions are. But when you're going to a national park, you should expect the unexpected, and you should be very patient.
Yeah.
And in order to avoid any heartbreakings or any uh, uh, dissatisfactions, I think it's better to learn about the subject and the habitat, especially for instance, let's say for example, I'll take one example, the thought process and how I plan my trip, using the subject and the habitat. Especially, I love taking photographs of lions. But if you know about lions and their behaviors, they are social animals first of all, and they live in prides. And basically, they are one of the laziest animals in the animal kingdom, and they sleep about 16 to 20 hours a day. So during the daytime, basically they are asleep. And you will be like, if you want to photograph a lion, you should be photographing it while it's on the move and while it's doing something, not when the animal is asleep. So basically what I do is, like, if I'm doing a morning drive, let's say for example, I'll be focusing on seeing the lions and go and photograph lions in the earliest morning, let's say at 6, from 6 to 7, because that is the time they are active, they are doing something, they are at least walking, they will be at least standing up. So I'll be planning a morning session from 6 to, let's say, 7:30. I'll be focusing more on the lions, and then after that, I know okay, leopards also are nocturnal animals, but at least, even if they are on a tree, it's not like a lion is sleeping under a tree. It's like leopard on a tree, it's a different thing. Leopard, wherever it is just photogenic, so it is one of the most photogenic animals. So after that, I'll be focusing on the leopards, and when the light is still good, let's say 7:30 to 9, especially in Mara and Amboseli, the lighting is really nice. So I'll be focusing on leopards, and then like the other animals, like zebras, maybe like it be giraffe, anything. And after that, I'll be focusing on cheetahs, especially knowing that cheetahs, they are in the constant struggle of finding a prey and saving it from the other predators. Like, they have a constant struggle for survival. against lions and leopards and even hyenas. So they will be hunting mostly during daytimes. I'm right, Nisha. You can correct me
Yeah.
if I'm wrong. So after that, especially when you go, if you have been to Masai Mara, this especially these five brothers used to be, and now there are three brothers. So they used to hunt during this daytime, like let's say 10 to 2, that period. So I'll be focusing on that, like photographing cheetahs during that time. So just the small things, like when you know what time the animals are active, what kind of animal, like what kind of a social behavior they have, then it will be easy for you to plan out your trip, and then you can plan out your photography. And also, this is very important: do not invade the space, respect the animals, and they will respect you back, especially in Masai Mara. I have seen people, like especially the guides, with all due respect, they are driving the vehicles just to please their customers, their clients. They just drive the vehicles almost onto the, like, invading their personal space, and I have seen they are driving like onto the animal itself. So like when you're enjoying the wildlife, respect the wildlife. That will save you from trouble as well, because like sometimes these animals might come and attack you. Who knows, they are not tamed animals. So respect them, and that is the message I want to give you on that. And so moving on, this is where I just want to pay a little bit more attention, and the boring stuff is out of the way. I'll be taking you through a little bit of images, and the different techniques I'll be using in creating my images. Obviously, there are rule of thirds, rule of odds, getting low, and same subject, new perspectives, moments and feelings, perfect imperfections, get close and back off, find beauty in every subject. I think when I say these things, you can understand where I'm going through. Anyway, so let's start with the first one, the obvious one, like rule of thirds. This must be the, like, the most used technique in photography world, regardless of the genre. So, as the Wikipedia itself says, the composition guideline that places your subject in the left or right third of an image, leaving the other two-thirds more open. So, which sort of gives you, you place your subject in sort of a corner, in one of those corners, and keep a little bit of a negative space, so that the viewer's eye will be drawn into the subject, and sort of gives I use this technique the least, to be honest. And I use this technique sort of in the fine artsy sort of images. For example, this image I made, like if you see this topi, there's a topi, and the the negatives, actually beside the top, it's totally the negative space where there is nothing. So your eyes are obviously driven into the topi, and there are a lot of other examples, the much better examples, but this is sort of a approach that I would do in the rule of thirds. And rule, although they are called rules, these rules are to be broken, and rules are just should be the guidelines, and you have the freedom to break them for your will, in my opinion. And the second one is rule of odds, and this is a composition should have an odd number of objects, not an even number of objects. Which means, like, that even number of objects, I think, in my opinion, it gives a little bit of a settlement, a little bit of like everything is in order sort of feeling. But when you give it an odd number, it gives a little bit of unsettlingness, and a little bit of something is wrong sort of a feeling. So I believe that creates the viewer's attention a little bit more, and it drives viewer's eye into the image a little bit more than looking at a image with even number of objects. For instance, this image I shot this image in Sao. Is these are three wildebeest, hard beasts, they were actually looking at me, and they were giving me a nice pose. And there are three, instead, I mean, like, imagine a situation where only there were two, and it would have looked a little bit more subtle, in my opinion. But three gives a little bit of a, like, sort of a unbalanced look to it. So I believe that is my take on this rule of odds, and I believe I use that technique quite often. And let me show you another example. And the uh, sorry, the slide went a little bit too
That's
fast.
good.
Anyway, next one, get low, which is shoot from low angles. This technique I use a lot. Actually, I learned this one a little bit later in my journey. Actually, I use this technique extensively in the last two visits to Masai Mara, especially when you're photographing these big cats. And I used to, like, shoot from the roof of safari vehicle. So, like, then you can obviously see the far, and you can photograph animal which is far. But when the animal approaches you, you cannot, that when you're shooting from a high angle, in my opinion, it makes the animal a little bit less prominent, sort of. I don't know if that's a proper word for that. But when you shoot from a low angle, in my opinion, it makes the subject a little bit larger than life. For instance, now this one actually shot this lioness in Amboseli. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, if you have been to Amboseli, like, the Amboseli is like, the road is a little bit lower to the sides of the park. Like, the sides are a little bit elevated. So I was able to take this shot, which, this is just a normal generic shot of a lioness, but the way the lioness was, like, in a higher ground to where I was, makes this image a little bit more intimidating, in my opinion. So this one, I mean, Nisha, you must be very familiar with this big boy, yeah. This
Yeah.
is Olabor, actually one of my favorite lions in Masai Mara. Right now, this is one of the Black Rock boys, and this guy was walking towards me. And if I had I shot this image from a higher, from a higher perspective, it wouldn't have looked this way.
Yeah.
And this one, you get the feeling that the subject is actually approaching you, and like, sort of, you get that depth feeling as well. So, in my opinion, like, these shots, because, like, I don't think it's not just my opinion, because, like, from the likes and the views I'm getting from the Instagram lately, after I got used to this technique, have been really good. The responses I've been getting. So I
That's
think this technique is one of the better techniques to be used in photography, in my opinion. And moving on, there's this image I took in Dead Lake of Amboseli, and this time I actually got off the vehicle. Like, there were no any, like, dead, like, you can see, like, for a, like, the whole area is empty. So I got off the vehicle, and I actually leaned on the floor and took this shot. So you can, it creates that little bit of that depth of field, like, before the subject and after the subject, that creates that depth of field effect, that makes the subject a little bit more prominent in the image. And that, like, uh, this different perspective makes the image a little bit more interesting, in my opinion. So
mm-hmm.
this is a technique that I used a lot since of late. I mean, and this is another one. I actually took this one in, again, in Masai Mara, and this is one of the soap opera males, and it was actually on one of the famous black rocks. And then we were actually underneath the lion, and this kind of image, like, when the lion is on a higher ground, it gives a little bit of majestic and more intimidating look on the lion, as if, like, it's more like a, like, we know, in our minds, lion is like more like a king of the jungle, yeah. So
Yep.
this sort of a perspective makes it really the king of the jungle, like is above us sort of feeling. So I really like using this technique, and I think it'll help anybody who's not using that technique for now. So this one actually, I would call it same subject, different perspective. So it's like one of my favorite images, because like you see giraffes. So for instance, this image is of a zebra, and you may have seen thousands of images of zebras, like head on or portraits or different sort of zebra portraits. But this one I have taken, like I have, but I've not taken the face of the zebra or nothing, but just a fraction of the body of the zebra. And so when you look at this image, it creates a little bit of a, like like this thing, but it gives a little bit of a different look to the image, in my opinion, because like obviously it's a zebra, looking at the stripes and all, and but it is different from any other zebra image. So I think I encourage you to look at the subject a little bit differently. Do not take the photographs the way everybody else would take. So create a little bit of a, like you can take a photograph and then later on crop it, and then make, like try experimenting, cropping it in different ways, and try to put an interesting subject onto a generic subject, and then make the image a little bit more interesting. And another example is this one. This one actually I took it in South. This is I took this image quite some time ago, and obviously it's an elephant, but rather than taking a full portrait of an elephant, which I really like to take, but this one gives you a little bit of more depth to the image, sort of fine artsy like. But like we know this poaching thing, we often talk about this, but like when you look at an image like this, it gives you a, and the what I wanted to emphasize on this one was like that, how elegant a tusk, and how elegant it is in an elephant when it's in the elephant. So, and I have played a little bit of with the shadows and the lightings, and I have edited in a way just to bring out the details in the tusks and also on the trunk. So I think this is one of the images I'm really proud of, actually. uh, and so I'm encouraging everybody just to look at the subjects a little bit differently. So you don't have to take a photograph like you don't have to include the eyes, ears, and everything. Sometimes just take a photograph of something more interesting, and that image will be more interesting than the other images that you have taken. And this is another two images that I have taken. One of the two, actually, the image on the left is two cubs are playing, and then at first glance you cannot perceive what is going on, but that creates a little bit of a curiosity in the mind of the viewer, so that then you are inclined to see what is going on a little bit more. So that sort of a vibe also going with these kind of images. And on the right, this is like a herd of elephants actually moving, like on a rainy day. So I try to like focus on one of the elephants, and then like crop on the, like it's like it gives a little bit of the crowded sort of a look into the image. And it's a little bit different from just taking a generic image of let's say a herd, like like instead of taking a wide angle shot. So this technique also one of the techniques I use a lot since of late, and I think people seem to have liked those images quite a lot. And next one, capturing the moment and the feeling. This is and this is one of the images that I've got quite a lot of likes in my Instagram portfolio, because like I believe in capturing the moments. Sometimes uh, you know uh, the stories are told in emotions. Those are the images that you can say image speaks 1,000 words. So I always try to capture the moment. Sometimes, like look for moments when you, for instance, if you see Pride of Lions, and then try to focus on the cubs where you might see a little where there are interactions happening. So try to capture those moments. And this one again, one of the images. Actually, this one was while I was in a hotel. This curious monkey got, like he was giving me this look, and I was lucky to get a quick snap of the guy. So he was like, actually, he got surprised to see me, just like I was surprised to see him. So those kind of images, they speak a little bit, like these images, I believe they speak something from the image. And I want to show you another two examples. This is one of the images I took in Sao. Sort of gives a little bit of a sentimental value to the image, like the one impala kissing the other one. Those two are actually females, two are females, like sisters probably. And that little bit of that compassion, that love going on, and especially that the oxpecker on the head gives a little bit of a chill vibe to the image as well. So try to, like these could be generic subjects, but try to capture the moment in these generic subjects, which will make that image much better, and gives you a whole lot of a different vibe to the image. And this one is one of my favorites. Then this one, I actually took it in Masai Mara. This is Black Rock Pride, Sopa Pride, actually, Sopa Pride cub and the lioness. And you see, it gives a little bit of a, like, again tells a long story. Like the cub is like being a pain in the butt for the mother, while she is more concerned about the safety of the cub, because like we were a little bit close to them. So she was keeping an eye on us while the cub was enjoying eating the mom's ear. So those are the moments, like I invite you to capture the moments, regardless of the subject. Let it be a lion, let it be a leopard, let it be a monkey, let it be a whatever it is. Try to look for these moments, because these moments actually tells you a big story. So that is one of the technique, not technique, but I try to capture as many as moments as I could, regardless of the subject. And next one, perfect imperfections. This is something I really love to capture, and like sometimes in the wild, you will see a lot of animals with imperfections, but those images make them more appealing than the perfect images. For instance, this hard beast with one horn, I captured it in again in Sao, and like if it was a normal hartebeest with both horns, it wouldn't have made such a like a interesting image, I would say. But this one with one horn gives a little bit of it tells a little bit of a story about the hartebeest as well. It must have gone through a fight. It could have been something, like it makes you think about the image. And one on the right, that is again an elephant I captured on in Amboseli. And actually, this image I had to, initially they were walking towards us, so I was trying to take photographs while they were walking towards us. But in the beginning, I actually didn't notice that there was that imperfection in her tusks. They were like they are twisted on opposite directions. So when they are walking towards us, I thought I'm only seeing one tusk. She only had one tusk, I thought. But later on, I realized as they were moving past us that she got like this twisted sort of tusks. So I had to take a side profile shot, and I think I this is this is nothing to take home about, but I like capturing these special sort of unique animals or unique things in the wildlife. And the next one is get close and back off. This is very simple, like sometimes you want to make images that uh, gives a little bit like detailed images, like close-ups, portraits with you want to get the eyelashes, and then sometimes the textures in the body, sharp in focus, and then that reveals every whisker in the face, and maybe every eyelash in the image. So for those images you get close, and then sometimes that those images, I believe in diversification. Sometimes you can only take close-ups and make a nice looking portfolio, but sometimes you have to adjust to, and you have to do a lot of different methods of composing images. Like for instance, if you want to take an environmental portrait, now this first image of that this eagle, does not that gives a detailed image of the eye and how sharp the eye is, and then maybe the beak and the other things, but it does not give an idea about the habitat of the animal, and it does not give much anything away besides it's a close up. So I like to take images where the animal is in its natural habitat and shows a little bit of the environment the animal lives in, and which makes sometimes like gives a little bit of nice composition to the image overall. And this one again a close up. This is one of the Tana waters, now Bora. One of the I cannot ID the one, but this is one of them. And I wanted to take a photograph with this. Like this is right after feasting, and I wanted to make the photograph pop with the details. Like I wanted every whisker to be visible and every scar to be visible, and also this I wanted to show these bloody teeth and everything. So I went for a close up. I zoomed all the way in, and I went for, and especially when you take a close up and detailed shot, try to narrow down your aperture so that you get a large depth of field. So use those a little bit of techniques, and this is one of my favorite leopards, Jilime, the daughter of Luluka. And so those detailed shots, here if you see every whisker, every individual whisker is prominent. So I would go close for certain type of shots, but this is not my favorite, I would say. But you can like use different disciplines in photography. And this one, like this backing off, this one, like if you see, I saw this elephant in Amboseli the day. That's why one of the reasons I love and how small we are. Like okay, like and this one again I took in Amboseli. So three elephants are walking towards us. So it gives it doesn't give much away. Like it doesn't tell you a lot about the environment and the habitat they live in, but it gives like a little bit of a like. I like this image because it makes how small the elephants, the way the image makes the elephants look small. It gives a little bit of a idea how big the landscape is. And so and this is type of images I really like to capture. And Amboseli is one of the best places to capture images like that, I'm telling you. So if you have not been to Amboseli, please do yourself a favor, just go there. And next one, find beauty in everything. So when you go visit parks like Masai Mara or Amboseli, we often overlook these other animals while trying to look for big cats and these predators like leopards, lions, hyenas, or whatever. But you have to see the beauty of everything. Sometimes even just a small bird, sometimes even the this ugly looking buffalo, it makes a nice image in, in my opinion. So look for compositions, look for images in everything. And for instance, this one again, two oxpeckers in a giraffe. Sorry, yeah, one of the giraffe's leg roosting on a giraffe's leg. So try to like diversify your portfolio. Like do not take only the lions or the leopards. okay, even I have taken like if you go to my profile, like 70% of my images are lions, but at least whenever possible, try to diversify. Uh, and then so that's about the compositional techniques. I think you must have learned something from that, and if that's the case, then I'll be the happiest. And moving on to the next one. So this is a little bit of a debate I wanted to bring everybody. So there are purists in photography, and there are sort of liberals, I would say, because like in sometimes it is good. There is a debate. There are whether you want to take it, should you, or like you should be getting the photograph in the camera, which means like least amount of post processing. Try to get everything perfect in the camera. And the other thing is, other school of thought is like you should not do that. There are abundant like software like Lightroom, Photoshop, everything, and then why don't you get the use of it? So I just wanted to, a little bit talk you through a little bit about my opinion, my take on this one. So I just fall into the second group, I would say, more a little bit of a liberal, because like especially when you're doing wildlife photography, you cannot always take the perfect shot in the camera. So I use a lot of, especially I use Lightroom. I'm not so fluent in Photoshop, so I basically edit my photos in Lightroom. But I try to, like create, like using these Lightroom techniques, you see, playing with the shadows and the lights, and then saturation and those things, and then the clarity and the like the structure of the image, and try to create something different. Because like in my opinion, photography is an art form. So art form could be anything. So it is your duty to show the world the way you see it and the way you want to see it. Sometimes it certain people might not accept it, certain people might accept it. So and I sometimes, like especially my Instagram, our community has been really helpful to me, because like sometimes whenever I do some crazy edits, like like if I make some like stupidly like out of this world sort of images, I just put a story on my uh, Instagram, and then I would ask whether you like this edit or not, or it is too much. So I get both, like 50-50. Like sometimes they will just tell me, okay, this is really bad, I don't like this at all. Because then those are the feedbacks I really enjoy from the community, because that community helps me to grow, and then you know you know in a way I want to make a name. I want to have a uniqueness to my images, but at the same time I'm presenting it to an audience, so I want to get the feedback from the audience as well. So that feedback from the audience is really appreciated. So uh, I fall into the second group, a little bit of, we are a little bit of a liberal. So I wish I could take everything in the camera and make the perfect image, but I'm not that capable. So I'm still learning. I'm like every day I'm learning, and from every photo I take, I learn something. So maybe someday, like when I get like everything, when I can sort it out, I might be able to do that. So I just wanted to show a little bit of extreme edits I do, and the the results I would get from those. And first of all, we'll go for these underexposed dark moody edits. These kind of edits I use specially now, like for example, this photograph I took early in the morning. This is like before sunrise even. So I had to take a photograph with the available light. So luckily I was using a camera which had a little bit of a like a high ISO capability. So this was shot, I think, around 5000 plus ISO. So although the image, like the original raw image, it looks a little lot grainier, so and a little bit more pixelated sort of. So the way I had to, now this image as it is in the black and white, it does not look that bad. compared to the original photo. So in this image, I tried to, like, especially if you see in an image, uh, if the ISO is too high, if you crank up the ISO too high, especially the shadow areas where it shows most of the noise. So in this photograph, I tried to drag the shadows so far down, and try to make use of the available light and try to create this image. And it sort of uh, paved me the way to create an image where the this look of this, like the posture or the gesture of that animal and the structure of that animal, this lion, to be more prominent than otherwise, had I taken it normally. So, and this one was taken in perfect light, but the background was a little bit cluttered, so it distracts too much. So what I did was, like, I made the background a little bit too dark, so that the viewer's eye will only draw into the main subject. So those are the little bit of techniques, like ways I used to manipulate my images. And I believe, I mean, so far these images were well received, so I think people kind of like these kind of images. And I'll show you one more, because this is another, like, extreme edit, sort of. I wanted to make some, like, if I'm to make a print or something, I wanted to make something like this, so that it gives a little bit of a, you know I like that fine artsy sort of vibe into this one. And the other extreme corner, the other extreme of over editing is, like, we saw the low key images, low key or moody, underexposed images. These are overexposed, high key images. This technique I use especially when there is a, like, a not so interesting background, and especially for the images that I have taken during the daylight, because, like, the harsh daylight, the sunlight, when it falls on the subject, it, like, it creates a lot of like specular highlights on the subject. And so that sometimes when you boost all the light, like, especially take this one, like, uh, if the subject looks a little bit darker, and the background, everything looks a little bit more light, more light in color, then in a situation like that, I would raise the exposure, so that the my subject will be in proper exposure, but the background, although it's distracting, before that it was distracting, but after that edit, it just disappears. So these are the images I've made, some images I have made using that technique. And I think it definitely looks better, in my opinion, to the original image. uh, these are the techniques that I would generally use, and these are another two examples. So it gives a little bit of that fine artsy vibe to the image, I believe, because, like, the elements, the viewer's eye goes into the main subject, and it does not gets distracted by the other elements. So this is another technique I use, but I do not do this to every image, because, like, most people don't like this sort of images. But this is another technique you can get away with, with a bad image and make it a usable image, in my opinion. So just some closing thoughts, I would say. Importance of knowing your gear and its limitations. So again, this is a debate. First one is, like, people say gear does matter, and some people say gear does not matter. In my opinion, both are correct. Gear does matter. For instance, like, I know I transitioned from, I started with a 50 mil, and then I bought a 7300 millimeter, which are basically a slight minor upgrade from, like, that is the entry tool into wildlife photography. And then I haven't used a prime, and I wish to someday maybe buy a prime, but so far I cannot afford that. So, but I upgraded to a better zoom lens. So I know, and I first of all, I initially I had a crop sensor camera, and then I upgraded into a full frame camera. So I know my images, no, have been there was an improvement in the look of the images as I tend to get these little bit more like high end, more premier gear. So it definitely, like, had I uh, if I had a 400 millimeter prime, I would have definitely used it, because I would love to use it, because I know that gear will give you a better image than the gear I'm using. So there is a element that gear does matter. And also the other uh, aspect of it is, no, it does not matter. And I also agree on that, especially since, you can, even if you have the best gear in the world, if you do not use proper techniques, if you do not use a proper composition, you will not make a good image. A good photographer with a bad set of equipment will make better images than a bad photographer with the best of the equipments available. So, just do not uh, get carried away if you don't have the best of the gear. I don't have the best of the gear, and most of the photographers, the best, these on Instagram, there are plenty of super photographers. I have seen super making some gorgeous images who does not use the best of the gear, but what they do is, like, they know how to use their gear. So learn about your gear, learn about the limitations, and push your gear to the limits. Especially, like, if you are using these days everybody is using a DSLR or a mirrorless. So learn about the limitations. Like, for example, push your gear to the limits. Let's say you want to take a photograph in the morning, then try raising the ISO and see up to which ISO you can get away with a decent image, and then try to, like, lower the shutter speed and see how much of a what is the lowest shutter speed you can get away without, making a fuzzy image. So, like that, likewise, learn about your gear. So at the end of the day, it will make you much more complacent with your gear, and it will definitely help you in creating a good image. So not only the compositions, this gear also does matter, but do not get distracted or just get disappointed for having cheapo gear. Just learn your gear, how to use it properly, and then you will definitely make better images. And also use techniques to overcome these limitations. For instance, like, if your camera does not support higher ISOs, then use a bean bag or something just to help it. I'm just giving you a small example, so that, get away with learning a little bit of techniques, and then try to make the best out of your gear. And that is all I have for today. I hope you learned something from this, and this is my first ever webinar, so I know I sure may have made a lot of blunders. So please pardon me for that. And thank you, Nisha, and thank you, Paws Trails, for giving me
It,
this wonderful opportunity.
it was wonderful. You touched every aspect you were planning to discuss, and the images were wonderful. And it's not about talking something big. It's all about sharing your experience. So, and that you have done so beautifully. We have you
Thank you.
so on behalf of myself and on behalf of Paws Trails and for our viewers, thank you. We have
Thank you
few
very much.
questions, and there are a
Yes.
bunch of people who said hi, and I think there was a sound of the thunderstorm in between. So Radhakrishnan thinking it
Yeah,
was,
must be. It's raining outside.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's in Sri Lanka and it's raining and there is a thunderstorm. So it was
Yeah.
not a special effect
Yeah.
from that image. It was a natural thing. Okay. Then Margari Ambata said, watching from Mombasa. Radhakrishnan said, hello. Aaron said, I love this shot. Comments were happening as you were proceeding. I didn't want to interrupt in between. Then Atoma mentioned it's great. Joseph said hello and wow. There was some connection issue, I believe, for Radhakrishnan, and he just mentioned that. Then Naseem
Oh,
said he's very proud and of you, I guess, and you're taking us to the wild world out there. Good vibes. Then
thank
Sri
you.
Lanka mentioned perfect shots. Then Naseem mentioned that he wished to connect with you, and his son is interested in photography and hope to meet you soon.
Wow, great.
That's great. So you can definitely check our Instagram story and get the handle for Pamalka and get in touch with him. Then Ash mentioned a high ISO is noisy image. Of course, ISO can be treated in many ways. You have softwares if you want to remove, and there are people who really play with ISO and high noise in as an art form. So it all depends,
Yes.
as
Yeah.
Pamalka mentioned, how you want to see it. Then Lalindra De Silva mentioned, well done.
And just one word, if I may, Lalindra, he's the guy who is he's the guy who put me into this wildlife thing. Like he's the guy who took me on the first safari, and he's the guy who was with me in my last safari as well. Like he's my travel partner, like my travel buddy. So special thank to him.
Oh, that's
Please,
great.
guys, check his profile as well. He's one of the hidden talents in the Instagram platform. Please go check him.
That thank you. That's the beauty of this platform. The more we connect with people, everybody have one or the other new
Yeah,
person to get introduced, and
yeah,
we will
yeah.
definitely we will also get in touch from our side. So thank you, Lalindra. One of us will get in touch with you if you are interested in sharing your story with us. Then Atoma, great bro. Then bro, to be honest, which is the bet? Oh, that's a tricky question. Which is better, Canon or Nikon?
Let's not
Both are
go
good.
there. Whatever fits your hand is the best. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, see, every now Canon, Nikon, and Sony is also there. There are
yeah,
other
yeah.
brands. So whatever you feel comfortable, it's not about
Yes,
Canon or Nikon.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And what fits your budget? Don't break
yeah,
your
yeah,
bank,
yes,
please.
yeah. And Nassim mentioned, incidentally, Pamalka's dad is my close friend. Oh, that's why he said, I'm proud of my friend's son.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So these are the questions, and so I we totally do agree on most of the things you touched. Whether it is about talking about uh, editing. The only trouble we feel a bit confused is when people do editing and when they don't mention about it. The
Yeah,
moment you are talking, this is what it is, then it's fine. I mean, it's again personal. It's not
yeah,
hard rules like you should be only
yeah,
going
yeah.
to do this or you shouldn't do this. So it's a completely different thing. Thank you so much. These are the things, these are the messages what we have received. So it was a wonderful session, and you really put out whatever you want to convey, and it was really beautiful. It's including knowing the gears, your techniques, your views when you were talking about multiple subjects, the odd numbers, and I love that heart beast topi or heart beast, that the one with three.
Heart based study. Yeah, yeah.
That was really amazing, and including the ears were looking more like eyes, so it was really good. So,
That's one of the animals often like overlooked. Like people do not find the beauty in them. They're like, that is one of the most photogenic animals for me.
yeah, yeah, it's true. Even see, even if you see the macro world, the way people portray
Yeah,
mosquitoes can be so interesting. So
imagine.
it's just
Yeah.
about our perspective and how we picturize things and how we portray it. That's completely true.
Yes.
It was amazing, dear. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Nisha. Thank you very much, Paws Trails, and for giving me this opportunity. I hope everybody enjoyed and learned at least something, and that is my pleasure.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So thanks again, and um, so let's catch up with the next edition, and we will, as always, we will be posting the details soon on net, and we will get back to you with the dates and details. Till then, you all please take care and stay safe. Bye bye.